Let's pick up on this story now. There's been frustration at the country's international airports as visitors struggle to leave the country. Now, a number of countries have implemented travel bans after the discovery of the Omicron COVID-19 variant. Our reporter, Mawande Kheswa, is at the King Shaka International Airport to check on the situation there this morning. Mawande, many thanks for your time this morning. And what is the situation there? Is there a little bit of panic, anxiety, pandemonium as people try to find their way around these bans that have been instituted and try to get back to their homes?
Good morning. At this point in time, there isn't any panic, pandemonium or frustration that I've been able to, number one, visually see and also get a sense of from the people that I've spoken to. While we are currently at the domestic departure site, it is worth noting that there are people who do take connecting flights. Not every flight to every country is available as a one-way flight from King Shaka International Airport. But we will also be heading back to the international departures to check the situation there. I'm going to move out of picture quickly. I did speak to some people here, and the majority of them have been traveling from one African country to another and will be leaving, heading back to Johannesburg. And that is the bulk of people that I have spoken to. From what I've seen as well, there aren't many people heading to the international departure section, but we do expect that during the course of the day that may change, and we may be able to visually see that play itself out and also get to speak to some of them.
And hopefully those will be some of the officials, Mawande, because as these new variants keep coming up, operators within the airline space, tourism, all the important sectors are going to need to relearn how to cope with the pandemic in terms of implementing the right precautions. So ensuring that people are wearing their masks on the flight, ensuring that there's sanitation that's happening, and the subsequent social distancing.
I think when we look at that space, airlines have been adhering and following those protocols. Many people have been on flights where you have seen that they do have quite stringent measures. In fact, all the measures that are put in place at airlines pre-COVID or post-COVID as well, really they were measures that were in place for the safety of passengers, the airlines and so forth, and enforcing them wasn't an issue. Likewise with COVID-19, you'd always find people wearing their masks. You would find that heading into the airport, you are screened in terms of your temperature, sanitizing and so forth. So really, when you look at the space of the airlines, they've been adhering to those protocols in terms of that, the masks and so forth. So I'm not too sure exactly how it's going to change their space with regards to the regulations. But what I do know is that there is going to be an impact when we look at the economy. We are heading to a busy season as far as December is concerned, and that's a season where a lot of people flock into the country, not only KZN, but other provinces as well. And we are quite attractive to the international market in terms of what we have to offer. Game reserves with the infamous Big Five in quite a number of our provinces. In our province, we do have the the Park Game Reserve, where we do host the Big Five, along with others. So really, it is going to be a major dent when we look at that. But also, it does depend on what the president will say when the time to address us does come. So really, those two things will come into the fore and play out. I recall that earlier this year, there were delegates from governments who were looking at tourism within the sector, and they visited Zululand. And one of the key things there was that international tourists are the ones who predominantly visit that area, and COVID had dented them in the sense that they weren't getting those visitors. Whether this is going to head to that space again, only time will tell. But the news of those flights, airlines, as well as countries who've banned flights from South Africa is devastating, and will definitely have some effects that we wouldn't want to see.